Hey vinyl community, I'm back with another vinyl finds video. It's my second video of the week. It's my first vinyl finds video of the week, but I have to apologize. I try not to do more than one a week. So you're seeing another video so quick. So once again, apologize for having another one so quick. What we have today is we got some new releases that came in the mail. We got some thrift store finds, some other little bits and bobs. Something you'll find out maybe as the video goes on is that I just are coming off about 3 hours sleep from work. So I'm doing this now as I have time right now, and I just ran out and got a coffee to try to make this video somewhat intelligible, which I don't know, it's always a struggle with me, isn't it? But anyways, we're gonna say cheers, everyone, and I'm just gonna get right to this right now. Something I never really show too often are CDs. If you're not a CD fan, just you got that little button on your phone or on your computer, you can skip forward. I think I've made mention of this before. Finding CDs right now, it's probably the best time ever. People just seem to be constantly dumping their CD collections, and I still think that CDs are a very viable format, especially for my car. I pick a different CD every day, sometimes 2 CDs a day when I'm driving around. But what I found, what I've been finding a lot lately are a bunch of sealed CDs for between $1 and $1.99. So I would be remiss if I left those behind. Actually, I probably didn't need them. I wasn't going to leave them behind. But I'm going to show you quickly what I got for sealed CDs this week. And it's not something I do all the time. In fact, I very rarely buy CDs because I have so many. I've made reference of this before. Right around this corner is racks and racks and racks of thousands and thousands of CDs, and that's a byproduct of being in music retail for as many years as I was. Back in the heyday of record labels when they would hand you piles and piles of free CDs. So do I really need more CDs? Probably not, but I don't have these, so... And I'm blabbing on and on and on and on. That's probably from 3 hours sleep. Anyways, I'm gonna blow through these CDs really quick. I got a copy. These are all sealed, like I said. The Beatles Sgt. Pepper. This is the brand new version that came out. And surprisingly enough, I didn't have a copy of the Beatles on CD of Sgt. Pepper. That was a no-brainer. What I got, and I've kind of figured out by the tags, a lot of these were from an electronics store in my city that no longer sells music. So I'm not sure if they just donated all these to a thrift store. But that's what I kind of gather what these are. But I got 3 Stevie Ray Vaughan CDs sealed. These are the most recent remastered CDs with bonus tracks. And there's little interview segments with Stevie Ray Vaughan that breaks up the original album and the bonus tracks, which I love on these remasters. But I got a copy of Texas Flood, I got a copy of Soul to Soul, and I got a copy of Couldn't Stand the Weather. I mean, honestly, if you saw these for $1 or $2, you wouldn't. I don't think anyone would really pass those up. Got a copy of the Rolling Stones Flashpoint, which, if you don't know this album, I believe this was recorded live on the Steel Wheels tour. Arguably Neil Young's worst album, but didn't have it on CD, and I don't even think I have it on vinyl, to be honest with you. If I come across it, I come across it. There's a copy of Neil Young's Life, which is odd. It's very rare you'll find a Neil Young and Crazy Horse album that is really horrible, but his Geffen years, as some of you might know who know Neil Young's history, his Geffen years were incredibly hit and miss. And Life, yikes. But for $1, this was interesting. This is I remember when this came out when I was in the music retail field. I believe this concert. This is Paul McCartney's Back in the USA 2002. From what my recollection tells me, the concert aired on TV or something. Then all of a sudden, it just exploded. I mean, selling hundreds of copies at the store that I worked at the time. But what this is, I think I'm mumbling now. This is a 3-disc set that was exclusive to an electronics store in my city called Future Shop, which I don't know if they exist anymore. They were bought out by Best Buy. They might exist in some form or fashion. But this was only available at Best Buy, and it comes with a bonus DVD, so it's a 3-disc set of Live in the USA 2002 by Paul McCartney. Copy of Fleetwood Mac's Mystery to Me, and since I was buying those, I just remember this album. I can't remember what the single was on here, but MTV used to play the single every now and again. It's Peter Frampton's Premonition. Probably the one I needed the least, but it was there. So anyways, I'll give that a try. I don't think I've ever heard that full album. Speaking of Fleetwood Mac, you just saw Mystery to Me, but what you're listening to now is Fleetwood Mac's Greatest Hits. Just so if you hear that in the background. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you what I was listening to. But to me, probably one of the most essential collections ever. Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac. If you don't have that album, you ever see that, I highly, highly recommend it. All right. I'm going to try to keep the blah, blah, blah to a minimum today. But like every damn video I do, I say that and then I kind of blah, 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 blah. But some people don't mind the blah, 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 blah. Okay, this album was released not that long ago, and it's something I've been watching on Amazon, Canada, US, UK, looking for a price drop because there was no way in hell I feel this is anywhere worth $100. In Canada, it's about $100 to $120. It kind of fluctuates. It's never less than that. But Amazon UK, as some of you might know who live over the pond, Amazon had an amazing box set sale going on 2 weeks ago now, and I think this ended up being less than half price for what I would pay here in Canada, and I was very happy because this is one album I've been watching and watching and watching for a price drop, and it just was not dropping. So thank you, Amazon UK. I can assure you I'm in no way sponsored by Amazon UK, but if I was, that would be pretty fucking rad if I was. So I'm sure no one from Amazon's watching. But thank you, Amazon UK, because I got a copy of the Human League, a very British synthesizer group, which is a 3-album box set, which is ostensibly a best of collection. But what makes this box set interesting is instead of just putting the normal album tracks that we all, Human League has probably had, I don't know, 15 greatest hits collections. They did the correct thing, and they put rare single edits, rare DJ edits. I think a couple of the songs are album versions, but a lot of the single and radio edits are the first time they've ever been released. And what's the good thing about this is that it's half-speed mastered at Abbey Road Studios. So it sounds fantastic. And the only reason I mention about it being mastered at 45 RPM half speed is that a lot of the mixes that were commercially available before, right behind me, I have I have the original 12-inch singles, which have long seen their day. So it's nice to kind of get a copy, and I don't know if I would DJ with this, but anyways, it ended up being about $50 Canadian in and around that area there, which is a hell of a good deal. And I realize I'm spending way too long on this, but I was very, very, very pleased to get this one. So, and it comes with a nice book, and yeah, so that's more about that box set you'll ever need to know. Highly recommended, though, if you're in any way a fan of the Human League. Possibly one of my better finds this year at thrift stores. This is I've never come across an album by these guys at a thrift store, but it's the Fugs. This is their first album. I'm not sure if this will be my screen cap, but let's do this. There you go. This is their first album, and this is a 1967 reissue of their first album. This is a pressing from the US, and the original pressing of this album had a different cover. It was kind of a black and white cover. It might be one of these on the back here. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that was a pretty nice find, and probably one of my better finds I've had all summer and fall. So if you don't know the Fugs, I would recommend that you investigate the Fugs. They really good psychedelic. Yeah, you know, I'm not really good at describing. Some are much more articulate than I am, but have a listen if you so choose. Next one is kind of more in the same vein as the Fugs, but this is on the Fillmore Records label, which I do have a few. And look at that label, a little bit trippy, psychedelic. So you know what this album is going to be. Fillmore Records kind of put out a lot of albums of the same ilk. But this is an album by a band called Aum, A-U-M, and it's called Resurrection. And I don't remember now what year this is from. Might be 1969, 1970 possibly. I was surprised. This is actually a really good psychedelic kind of blues influenced album with a lot of Christian overtones. Yeah. I kind of have this ability to tune out the lyrics. I'm not really a lyric person. I don't know why I did that. But I'm not really a lyric person. For me to kind of pick up on lyrics, I kind of have to really pay attention. I'm more into the music. And I've said this before many times. And then the lyrics kind of will sink in many listens later. But you can't help but notice that a lot of the songs are about God, which is not bad. It's like I said, if that's not your thing, it's an easy thing to kind of put in the background. But anyways, like the first song on the album is "God Is Back in Town." But having said that, like I said, this was a really nice find. I took a chance on it. It was $1, so well, it wasn't much of a chance. Anyways, Aum, Resurrection, really nice psychedelic kind of blues album. This album I had no idea even existed. I'm not the hugest Moody Blues fan. I happen to have a lot of their albums because the Moody Blues are one of those bands I find the most of at thrift stores. But I've never seen this in the wild. I've never seen it at thrift stores that I've noticed, or at record fairs that I've noticed. But I have to safely assume that this is the Moody Blues' first album, as it's called Go Now, the Moody Blues #1. And it's an original copy of, yeah, it's a US copy. I haven't played this yet, but judging by the look of the band, this is maybe possibly when they were more of a traditional UK beat band, possibly. And I'm just guessing there. They look like a far cry from their kind of Knights in White Satin progressive roots. Anyways, Moody Blues, like I said, I'm guessing that's their first album. Proving that I'm all over the goddamn place for music, I've made reference of this before. Behind me, thousands of 12-inch singles. And there was a label in the 80s and 90s called On You Sound. And On You Sound released unofficial megamixes for the purposes of DJs who are too lazy to mix and make their own DJ mixes. You know. So anyways, I have some by Talk Talk and New Order and Duran Duran, and I have a few in this series. But I found this at a thrift store the other day. But it's a Madonna megamix. And side one is her early stuff. This came out in 1990, so when I say her early stuff, it's kind of everything. First album to maybe Like a Prayer, and then from Like a Prayer to the Vogue era. So it's kind of broken into her early era. Side B is kind of her newer stuff at the time. So that was a nice little pickup as a Madonna mega mix. If you're a Public Image Ltd fan, or PIL, yeah, this might be of interest to you. This was found for $1 at a local record store here in town. It's an original pressing of Public Image Ltd's Commercial Zone. For those of you who might want to know, and if you don't, that's what the fast forward button's for, is Commercial Zone was released by their then guitar player Keith Levine after he left the group or got kicked out. I'm not sure what the circumstances were. Keith Levine released a bunch of demos without John Lydon's approval, and it was called Commercial Zone. And this later on, these songs became the album This Is What You Want, This Is What You Get. And I'm not sure, this kind of led to legal action, I believe. But this is an original first pressing of this album. And I am a massive Public Image Ltd fan. I do collect their records, but I will be the first to. And I have a version of this on gray vinyl. But even on gray vinyl, it's not the best of it. It's not the best album ever. It sounds like really badly unfinished demos. So even though it's really, really cool to find, it's incredibly not essential. But it was nice to find for $1. So anyways, Public Image Ltd Commercial Zone. Oh, I have a new release that I kind of missed here. So anyways, forgive me for being out of order, but my Concrete Blonde collection is now complete. A couple months ago, I got the album Walking in London. I got an original pressing. I can't remember where I got it from. But I gave up on trying to find this album. Walking in London was part of my 12, for any of you who saw that video I made, was part of the 12 most wanted albums I was going to get this year. And this one wasn't on the list because I just kind of gave up on trying to find a copy of this album. It's so rare. It's $100 to $200. People are asking for it. Whether they're paying for it or not, it's a different question. But the new there's a new Concrete Blonde vinyl reissue series out, which is, in Canada at least, it's very, very nicely priced, between $20 and $22, $24. So I got a copy of Mexican Moon, double vinyl. Really good deal for these. Like I said, if you're a Concrete Blonde fan, the time to get these are right now while they're still in print and while the prices are so affordable. But yeah, so that Concrete Blonde collection is now done. Mexican Moon. This was, I believe, their second last album they ever did. They kind of broke up after this album and they came back together and did an album, I believe, called Mojave, which really no one really remembers or knows about. Anyways, having said that, let's get back to the thrift store finds. Grateful Dead, Skeletons from the Closet. Grateful Dead is still one of those bands I'm trying to figure out, but I haven't given up yet. I have friends who are really, really, really into the Grateful Dead, and I'm still trying. Anyways, this is a best of collection for those of you who might not know Grateful Dead. Maybe one day it'll click in my mind, but there's got to be something in there that I'm not hearing that my friends just love. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll come in here and I'll make a video like, I got it, I understand it now. Or maybe you'll never hear me talk about the Grateful Dead ever again. Either or. An album I didn't even know even existed was a Jethro Tull live album called Bursting Out. It's a double live album, and pretty much every song you'll ever want to hear from Jethro Tull, and some you probably don't, are on this album. So now I'm going to try to speed this along now. Anyways, Jethro Tull Bursting Out double live album. Kind of bog standard albums like this I don't normally show, but this is the next one I grabbed. I didn't separate the pile. There are a lot of albums I don't show you all. I think I've made reference of this before. I don't really show like Cyndi Lauper's She's So Unusual and Huey Lewis Sports, because, you know, I could show you a copy of that a day. In fact, I found one yesterday. Of both albums I didn't buy. Anyways, having said that, I didn't have this on vinyl. Don't know if I need it on vinyl, but it was there. Part of this pile I picked up. Don Henley, Building the Perfect Beast. I do like a couple songs off this album. I'm not a massive Don Henley fan. And the Eagles is something I'm starting to appreciate more. And I think I've talked about this before. I feel like I'm repeating myself again. Maybe this is why my videos go on so long. But ever since I saw that Eagle, and trust me, I know all about the Eagles. It's not a new thing for me. I think everyone in the world knows about the Eagles. But I saw that documentary on Netflix, and it's on DVD as well, and Blu-ray and all that. But it kind of gave me a better understanding of the band and a newer appreciation of the Eagles. Having said that, I just thought Glenn Frey and Don Henley solo material. Joe Walsh solo material, I think, is fantastic. But yeah, that was there, so I picked it up. I didn't have this album, and I don't know why. I've never seen this in a thrift store before, but I see this all the time at record stores and used copies at record fairs. But once again, it was there, and I don't have it. It's an original copy of Gentle Giant, The Power and the Glory. Gentle Giant is one of those progressive rock bands you love or absolutely hate. I have friends who absolutely love Gentle Giant. Another one of those bands that I'm kind of, this is maybe my 5th Gentle Giant album. So another band that's very much a late discovery in life that people have recommended to me. So Gentle Giant, The Power and the Glory. The Flying Burrito Brothers, I've never seen one of their albums at a thrift store either, but I got a nice collection called Last of the Red Hot Burritos. It's kind of, if you don't know this album, it's kind of a collection of all their different lineups up into, I can't remember what time. This is, I think, 1972. So you got your Graham Parsons, you got your Chris Hillmans. Now I'm trying to remember who else was in the Flying Burrito Brothers. But if I remember right, the producer, Jim Dixon, and please, in the comments section, if I'm full of shit, tell me. Jim Dixon, I believe, was the man behind all the Big Star albums. And if you watch my videos, you'll know that I'm a disciple of Big Star and Alex Chilton. Absolutely love that stuff. But I kind of noticed that. So I'll give the Flying Burrito Brothers a try. I'm kind of only vaguely aware of them. I think this is maybe the 3rd Francois Hardy album I found in the last couple of years at thrift stores. But this is an album called Loving. Someone put a little felt mark on there, which I will do my best to try to get out. It's a pretty decent copy. This is her first album that she did in English. So, Francois Hardy, Loving. I don't know what else to say about that. Damn good looking woman, though. Like I said, the next couple albums I just picked up because they were there. And it was part of this haul I got. I'm aware of this woman's album she did with Glenn Campbell. And her voice is amazing on that album. But once again, one of those albums I just have never seen, and it's in the shrink, and it was $1, and it has Bobby Gentry, Fancy. A nice artist depiction of Bobby Gentry there. There you go. Yeah. Once again, I have not listened to this album yet, but some of the songwriters were pretty interesting. Leon Russell and James Taylor, and Harry Nielsen writes, and Laura Nyro has written songs on this album. So I'll give that a try. Only a couple more. If you're a fan of Prince, you'll know this man. He was the original guitar player in Prince's band. This might be pre-Revolution, pre-Prince and the Revolution. He definitely played on 1999, and he does one of the verses in the song 1999 actually. And then I think after that album, if I remember correctly, he kind of went off on his own. But Jesse Johnson, I got a copy of Jesse Johnson's review. Don't know this album. I just kind of picked it up to see what he had to offer post-Prince. Nothing more to really say about that one. And the second Fred Neil album I found in a month. One of those curiosities that, I'll give anything a try. If not, I'll just kind of redonate it, pass it along. But Fred Neil, Little Bit of Rain. It's an original Elektra Records pressing. His first album that, if you remember, I found and I showed a couple of weeks ago, I thought it was pretty decent actually. So we'll give this album a little bit of a try. Anyways, I'm going to end this now. A good hour less than my normal videos. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subbing. I do have to say really quickly that in 2 weeks is the Calgary Record Fair that I'll be at. I'm making the 3-hour trek down there and 3-hour trek back. After that, all my kind of obligations are done for the world of record fairs. We don't have them here very often in my parts, twice a year. So the much talked about sub contest will be coming because I will have nothing to do. So I'm going to put together something really, really special, I hope, and make the contest super easy and for everyone to kind of participate, because that's kind of one of the things about, I've done a couple contest sub contests, but time is not really on my side most days due to my work hours and family commitments and the goddamn hours and hours and hours of thrift store shopping. Anyway, so a lot of times, a lot of the videos are really inventive that people want you to make, but they're really time consuming, and I just don't have enough time all the time. It's not for a lack of want to make them, it's just a lack of time to make them. So I want to try to make this contest really all-inclusive for everyone, make it super easy, and hopefully have some good prizes to give away. There you go. This is the last you're going to see of this guy this week. So thank you all for watching once again. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.